Hi, you're listening to Thoughtful Wellness Revolution, where we believe wellness isn't wellness if it's just for you. We're your hosts, Zahra and Hien. And before we get started, please make sure to give us a 5-star rating and review. Even though we're a podcast that believes in decolonizing, we're still bound to the algorithm. So every little bit that you can help us out, we really appreciate it. And we thank you for all the support. Let's get into it. Hey friends, and welcome to season 4, episode 0. What is this wildness? We are so excited to be back. So this is just our little intro episode with me and Hien. We're gonna discuss a little bit what's going on with our minds, our 2023s, what we've got in the works for season 4, right? Yeah, season 4. And yeah, so we just wanted to check in with you guys. So Hien, what's on your mind today?
What's on my mind today is honestly, how weird my life has been. I planned that we'll break up what's on your mind and how's your 2023 going, but honestly, for me, it's kind of the same. So I guess I'll just say I am at the age where I'm going into my Saturn return. Saturn just went into Pisces a few days ago. And so far, the energy just for me has been really good. Even though I know that it's only the beginning and Saturn return, like a lot of people like talk about how it's scary or really like heavy and intense, but I'm just really excited for it. If you don't know astrology, your Saturn return happens in your late 20s. That first time, and then later in sort of like your middle age when you're in like your 50s. And it's supposed to be a time where Saturn, the planet that's like the taskmaster, like really lays down the law with you and there's like growth. And I just feel like my life has been wild because it's been feeling very Saturn and returning for me, but like in a good way, like being an adult and responsibilities and trying to look like I know what I'm doing. So things like that. So that's what's on my mind right now. It's just, I guess, Saturn return.
Honestly, I love that for you. I think that's such a journey. We talked about this already, but my Saturn return ended like on my 30th birthday, I think but I was lucky to have a nice pre-Saturn return and a post-Saturn return that each lasted 2 years. So the last 6 years of my life have been not smooth sailing. But yeah, hopefully we're entering into that new period. We're entering into Pisces season, so we'll see how it goes. What's on my mind? A lot is on my mind. I'm not in my Saturn return, but things are still rough for me. So don't worry. We have one of us who's grounded and like got their shit together, and then you have me, and I am just pure fucking chaos all the goddamn time. And I don't know how to exist in the world any other way. Would I like things to be different? Yeah, but here the fuck we are. Full disclosure, Hien and I had to have a separate talk about what's on my mind before this call, where I just sobbed. So if you hear some like snifflies or weird stuff, that's why. So what's on my mind is a lot of stuff I'm not going to discuss with the internet, because while I feel very comfortable sharing all my secrets, some things are not mine to share. How is your 2023 going, Hien?
My 2023 has been going really interestingly, and I guess I'll talk a little bit about so far. It feels, I hate, as a 4, I really fucking hate to say this, but it's like been the theme so far, and I will get into why. It's very like work related, mundane, day-to-day stuff. Like that's kind of the overall theme. And so I guess what I'm going to start by saying is that for over a year, I was working a part-time retail job. So I would be working like 3 days a week, including like on the weekends. And I was working at a place where I got along with the store manager really well. I found out she's a social too. And so I don't know. And I did show her one of our podcast episodes. And so Becca, if you hear this, hello, shout out. But she is a social too. And so I get along with her really well. But, it was time for me to leave that job because it just didn't pay very well. And it's a corporate retailer. So it's very hard to like get a raise and things like that. And it just wasn't for me anymore. And so I was trying to look for another job, like a full-time job. But in the meantime, it takes a while to get a job. It's not instant. And I haven't really been a quote normie ever. I've been self-employed for a long time, or just working kind of like entry-level customer service jobs. And so I was just like, whatever, it's going to take a long time. I decided to get a different retail job, this time at a smaller company, like at a locally owned, I guess, chain. And I really like it. And I found out recently, Zara, you won't believe it, but I found out that store manager is also a 2 recently, which is just kind of funny. I'm like, what is it with me running into 2s? And Zara's a 2 and I love 2s, but and I really loved working there, actually. So like my last day there was a few days ago, and I remember thinking like, and I have not been there for very long, because what happened was I got the job. I was like, okay, if I like it here, I might go full time here. But then there was another job that I had applied for a little bit ago that I actually got. And so that's good news. As I'm recording this, by the time this episode comes out, I would have already started my new job. But at the time of recording this, I haven't started working my new job yet. It's a receptionist job. It's going to be like my first quote big girl normie job. Very boring and mundane, but like I'm also excited because it's a new experience for me. But yeah, I'm just thinking about work because I really enjoyed the place that I just left. I really enjoyed it. And I don't know, it made sense when I found out that the store manager was also 2, because I felt like the culture of the place was just really sweet. Like everyone was super friendly and helpful. And I'm like, I know this is because of like on the top, how she trains and hires people, that they are like this. And so that's how my 2023 has been going so far. It's just a lot of like interesting work stuff happening. Kind of boring, but I'm in the phase of my life, I guess, is with my Saturn return, where this is what's like next for me. So I'll stop talking because I'm sure half of you turned this off already.
I personally am thrilled to hear about your work journey, and I'm so curious. Okay, so you know how you'll find, I don't know if anyone knows this, in the Enneagram, they often say you'll find a lot of 8s in like food service industry, like chefs and restaurants and kitchens and stuff. Just because of like the order and the structure and stuff. It makes me wonder if in retail you're gonna find a lot of social 2s. Simply because of the way they're able to create that culture and like that customer service based environment. So I think that's really interesting. My 2023 is less structured and feels like anytime I take a step in any direction, I am starting back. I feel like I'm playing a video game and I'm like respawning at 0. I cannot seem to get past the first level. And I'm actually very genuinely sad about that, if you guys cannot hear that in my voice. Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's really interesting and frustrating, and I don't know, it's hard not to take personally, and maybe it is personal, you know what I mean? Maybe I am the problem. Yikes, that was not a good rabbit hole to open up. I'm sorry for everyone listening.
No, I'm just, you know what's funny is my mind just went into like, I wish we had a more complex setup where we can do stingers, and I would have loved to play the little Taylor Swift anti-hero, like, hi, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me, like just as a joke with that. But I'm sorry, like that's where my mind went to, is like the possible comedic effect, even though like Zahra, of course, I honor your feelings and your vulnerability. And I think like it's real out here. Like, yes, right now I am kind of riding a high, so to speak, at this moment. but that can change anytime. And then at this moment, you're feeling the way you're feeling, and that's okay.
Yeah, definitely. It's fine. It would be nice if, I don't know, give me one thing, life. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else feels this way right now, and this is too goddamn vulnerable for the internet, but I did say to you literally before we started recording, I do have problems telling a man how I feel, but I have no problem telling strangers on the internet all of my deepest secrets. So here we go. It feels genuinely hard to feel like no matter how much work you do, how much self-reflection you do, how much like progress you make, or how like much it feels like you're moving forward when nothing else around you moves. And I mean, I guess that's like a whole thing for like external gratification or like external value, you know, placed on stuff. And like I do know, as hard as it fucking is, when everything goes wrong all the time, I do see things in my life, like when bad things are happening to me, they're easier than they were. Like when I'm stressed, it's not in the same way. Like I do see things moving forward, but it would be nice if I had something to show anyone else, and not because I'm doing things for other people, but just because we live in a judgmental world where people like value you based on what you can show you've done and what you can show you've earned. And there's not a lot of recognition for people's self-growth and self-reflection and like healing through trauma and like working through a lot of disability issues and like other things I'm not going to name on this podcast, because while I like sharing secrets, again, I'm not sharing things that are not mine to share. So yeah, now that everyone knows too much about my life, Hien, would you like to talk about season 4?
Yeah, but you know, Zahra, I just want to echo the things that you did name, though, that I definitely agree with, is like definitely the internal stuff people like don't value as much as the external stuff. And so sometimes I think in the wellness manifestation community, they say like if internally you're good, like quote positive thinking or whatever, some shit, then like externally it will show whatever. But then like we live in a world and where there's like systemic shit and other things outside of our control that impacts why maybe externally it's not as quote great as we might want it to be, or to reflect how we feel inside. But I always just want to say like that doesn't mean anything about you internally. And you, Zahra, as well as me, as well as people listening, like I just want to like reiterate that. And I have so many other thoughts, but I don't know that we need to take it there. But yeah, sorry, Zahra, was there something you want to say?
No, I thought you were going to get into season 4, and I was like, wait, I actually really like that because it reminds me, I think too, I've gotten to the point where this is a wellness podcast in the sense that wellness isn't wellness if it's just for you. And I think that part of it is like the manifestation and all the wellness shit that we've taken in that is actually just like toxic new age white supremacy garbage. You know, like it's a lot. I feel like right now I'm undoing a lot of that because it does feel like, oh, I'm doing things right, I should have a thing, like, which is manifestation vibes, like, and manifestation is a lie. It is like, yeah, when you do things well, things can come to you, and like, yeah, you can attract things. I don't know if I believe. That's where I'm stuck, is like I don't know if I believe any of that shit. But also a lot of it is internalized within us where you're like, oh right, I must not be doing something right because everything in my life is wrong all the time. But like I can feel inside it's not wrong most of the time.
Right. And so that is where that there are systems that we live under, like I feel like we don't have to get into that right now because basically I'm just gonna be preaching to the choir, I think, to you, Zahra, and as well as to our audience. But this is a reminder again of like, I really believe in, I guess, the both and of like your like you can work on your internal self and healing and, you know, unlearning things. And then also like that doesn't always translate to externally how it quote should look, but then you can also work on externally if you want as well. And that I feel like is a lesson I've been learning myself as well as a 4 who fucking hates things like talking about getting a full-time job and work and shit, because that is so external, and like I don't give a fuck about any of that. But I know internally where I'm at was good, and externally, if it looks good, it's like a separate thing. Like it's not necessarily like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh, I worked really hard on myself internally and therefore externally it looks good. It's like, yeah, sometimes there are things that I would say it's because of that, but then other times I'm like, these are different things and areas of my life to work on, and it's not necessarily about manifestation. And I have gone off the rails, and so if we want to go to season 4, we can do that. We've had
but can I add real quick that 4s aren't only because some you 4s are just concerned with how it looks on the outside. You're not doing any of that internal work and then going, I don't know why I feel weird and bad. Sorry, I just had to, because I know we've got, like, I know you're a 4 who's really in the inner work, and I get that, and I'm here with you. There's also the flip side of that. So, everyone is image types. Come on, we're all lying. We're creating something. Just
no,
be
I mean,
honest
that's
with
so
yourself.
funny
It's real
because you're
hard.
right. You're right. There definitely are 4s, because yes, 4s, and I hate that. That is a 4 whenever I remember I am an image type, but no, I really am. And so, I don't even think about my younger self. So anyways, season 4. So we are doing a similar format to last season, where we start by interviewing a few guests in the beginning, have it release out, and then towards the end of the season, there will be guests that at the beginning of the season we haven't interviewed yet. And so far we have had 2 amazing guests. The first person is a chef and sex worker and content creator who I became friends with I feel like we first became like Instagram friends, and like our mutuals in 2019, and I've really seen their journey. They're really awesome. We can't wait for you to hear their conversation. They really embody like a sensual vibe, and we talk about that on the podcast. And then the second person is an academic. I don't know, Zahra, if you want to talk a little bit more about them. They are your friend, after all, longtime friend.
Yeah. The second is my oldest and longest friendship, who is a doctor of business, which is very cool. And she talks a lot about decolonizing business and kind of like this whole process of like worker-led, gosh, I should have looked up the term before I started, but like worker-led social responsibility, right? Where workers are, I don't know, I'm really now in my head. I'm so sorry about the term. But yeah, it was such a good episode. And I think Alicia has such a way of talking about really big and broad concepts and making them accessible to everyone. And we did talk about it as accessible academics, which any academics listening, if you want to come on the pod and talk about your work, we would fucking love that. But yeah, and we have some other guests lined up, and we will be recording while the season is airing because that's our new kind of schedule, which is very exciting. Jen, did I name too much or forget anything?
I think you did a great job. I think that was enough information for now. And then I guess this leads me to say and share, this is especially for people in Tacoma, but then also, if you're not in the Tacoma area and you want to give your resources, you can as well. And so last season, we had on Jamika Scott. And if you don't remember, I suggest you go back to our archives and listen to that episode. So Jamika is an artist and an activist. And at the time, we were interviewing her and asking a bit about local politics. And she had ran for mayor in 2021, I want to say. And fast forward, we're in March 2023, and Jamika recently announced that she is running again, this time for city council in Tacoma. And so I just want to go on record and say I endorse Jamika Scott. I don't know how much power or pull I have on like this kind of stuff, but I do think it's important just to say, like, Jamika Scott is somebody who, and I've said this, I remember on that episode when we were talking to Jamika. Jamika really embodies like the best, I think, of Tacoma and Grit City, and is the person I think at this time we need. And what I mean by that is she is somebody who cares about her community and the people. And I went to her campaign kickoff event recently, and she was talking about wanting a vision where people can be thriving and be unbothered. And, the crowd like cheered and laughed. And I was thinking like, yeah, like that's kind of like a no brainer. Like we should live in a world where everybody can thrive and be unbothered and just do their thing as long as it's not harming other people. That sounds really simple and easy, but for some reason, it's really fucking hard because of all the systemic oppression happening around us. But so yeah, basically all I have to say is I endorse Jamika Scott. And so I will link in the summary more information about her campaign and where you can donate and things like that. Zahra, anything you want to add?
Yeah, please, even if you don't live in Tacoma, look up Jamika and listen to that episode because it is amazing. She's amazing. But also because we need to get involved. I know some of us and lots of us listening probably already are involved in local politics, but like, let's be listening to what's going on in local politics in other cities and states, even the ones we don't live in, especially the ones where, this is like a plea to everyone who is left-leaning listening to this podcast. Florida's not okay. It's not going well here. If you guys are like, let Florida sink into the ocean. Fuck those Florida man, blah, blah. One, fuck off. The reason that you guys hear about Florida man is because of a law that doesn't protect the privacy of posting criminal stories right away. And that's why you guys hear about us all the time. It's not because we have more of it than everyone else. And two, we're the blueprint for what the right wants to do with this country. Us and Texas and all of these other states where they are banning abortion and trans rights and drag shows and taking away African-American studies and a lot of limiting immigration in this state. That's what they're doing there in the state of Florida, where you have so many people coming into this country and so many immigrants. It is dangerous. These are dangerous things. So yeah, support local candidates. Please help everyone. We all need help. We're very tired. We're all so tired. Yeah, and also like don't forget about your local communities, your local neighborhood fridges, your community peer support networks. Get to know all those people and follow people like Jamika because she's awesome and doing amazing work. And so yes, we support Jamika here. We endorse her.
Yay, yay, yay. I definitely agree and want to also, endorse what you just said, Zahra, that it is important to pay attention to local politics, which I also do assume that the people who listen to this podcast are probably a tiny bit more aware of local politics and politics than like maybe the average person, which we thank you. And so yeah, keep it up, everybody, and we love you. We're really excited to have you join us on season 4 and our amazing guests that we have planned. And bye for now.